My name is Henry Msasizi. I'm the chairperson of the Committee on Finance and also Member of Parliament, Rwanda County East. Mr. Edie and your team, I note there is a new person. The head of finance has changed. Has she been inside? Yes. Florence. Oh. Sorry? You'll be on record.
She's the new manager, admin and finance. But she has been with the Bureau since 2002 in accounts, audit, and now back to finance.
So, welcome. Now, I want to go straight on point. We didn't get chance to interact with you during the budget framework paper process because we had just come out of elections and we were fighting to beat the timelines within the law. But nonetheless, we also noticed that we had taken some time without interacting with the agencies on performance issues, both physical and financial, and also the achievements and challenges, which is also one of our core mandate as a finance committee. And it is in this regard that we invited you to make general presentation capturing budget framework issues, capturing general performance issues, challenges and other matters you may wish to put to the attention of the committee and parliament. We will move like this. You will make your presentation, and then after your presentation we will raise some issues for clarification, and then from there you respond and we finish the meeting. It's 11 and we want that by midday we are through. So I'd like to hand over to you, Mr. Edie, to make your formal presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson and the Honorable Member of Parliament, Rwanda West.
Rwanda East.
Yeah.
That's all the same.
From Rwanda District. Honorable Members of Parliament, Members of Staff, Parliament of Uganda, the media, and my colleagues. I would like to thank you for inviting us to interact with you, to share with you the budget performance for past financial year and the last 2 quarters, and also appraise you of the challenges that we met during the one financial year and a half. We have submitted a written paper, brief one. We first inform you, Mr. Chairman, that we have a new board of directors. The last one expired, the last terms expired in June 2020, and we got a new board on 1st of October. And the chairperson is Dr. Albert Byamujisha. Other members are Dr. Joseph Muvawara, representing National Planning Authority, Dr. Robert Wamala, representing Makerere University, Dr. Jacob Oporot, representing Bank of Uganda, Ms. Rosette Nakavuma, representing Minister of Finance, Planning Community Development, and Honorable Bernard Murengani from the private sector. And the 7th is myself, who is Executive Director and by law a member of the board. And the Executive Director oversees the operations of the Bureau while the board is an oversight for governance and the sounding board. 2, we present our budget performance of 2019-20. We received, the budgeted was 64.5 billion, of which 60.08 billion came from GOU, Consolidated Fund, and 4.5 billion was from external funding. As of the end of June 2020, the funds released to the Bureau from Consolidated Fund amounted to 46.62 billion, equivalent to 78% of the approved budget, and 44.27 billion was spent, which is 95% absorption rate of GOU funds. As for the performance of external financing, of 4.5 billion received, we spent 3.8 billion, which is also an absorption rate of 95%. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, we would like to inform you that we received additional funds from MDAs conduct for them surveys and censuses. We got 6 billion. 0.87 billion was from Inspectorate of Government to undertake the National Integrity Survey, whose report will be published on Thursday by the IGG. And Uganda shillings 5.2 billion to conduct baseline education census from Minister of Education. The 0.87 from IGG was fully absorbed, while Uganda shillings 0.9 billion out of 5.2 billion was utilized for baseline education census activities. The reason being that we were unable to conduct the census due to coronavirus crisis outbreak that led to the shutdown of schools up to now. So we still have the remainder. We had already recruited, trained at about enumeration materials. Chair, table 1.
So on top of your core functions, you provide consultancy services to MD.
This is not consultancy services. By virtue of our mandate, we are responsible for the whole national statistical system. And when
national
statistical system, this includes users, other suppliers of statistics, academia. Now, when a government institution wants to conduct a census and the data is to be considered official, for official use, the government, the respective ministry, department, agency, has 2 options. One, to approach us and we refine for them the instruments and do the sampling design and continue supervising them if they are to be used for official purposes. Or if they feel they don't have capacity, and for this case, Minister of Education, they delegate, no, actually it's not delegation, they bring back that function because all statistical production is a delegated function to all MDAs by Ubos. But we can conduct any other survey or census for other MDAs. And the same with the IGG, because they lack capacity, they lack technical know-how and other equipment. Secondly, for it to be given a professional angle, an independent angle, they need to use an independent institution, which is the mandate to do that. And this is, for example...
And they pay you for that?
Sorry?
They pay for the...
No, they don't. They just give the money. We recruit enumerators, buy everything, and we don't get additional funds. We don't get paid for the work we have done for government or any other, because it's part of our mandate anyway.
Why is money not being budgeted through your vote?
For us, we have.
Why is it not a planned activity under your normal budgeting process?
I think after the budget process is complete, there are demands from the users of their partners. For example, it emerged that the Ministry of Education, in this case, did not have a robust information management system. Their head counts and what have you used to produce data that was not reliable and comparable. So the stakeholders requested for that, but we had already planned for our own activities. We normally plan when we know that this is a cycle and is a regular. For example, the National Service Delivery Survey that we are to conduct this financial year was in our plan, but we are doing it for Ministry of Public Service. So once we know that every 5 years there will be this survey, the year preceding the survey we budget for that. But if there's something ad hoc that comes, then that's, we can't know what the Minister of Education is going to do.
The assumption here is that if an activity falls under your core mandate, you are supposed to
undertake it.
Undertake it.
Yes.
Using your budget.
If you have budgeted for it, yeah.
If it is of an emergency in nature or unforeseen, you are supposed to get a supplementary within your vote. But here is money moving from a different vote to your vote, as if they are paying you for a service to render to them. That's what I want to understand.
No, it's not paying for it. It's to execute that mandate. The bureau staff don't get any extra earnings.
So the question is, why did we, instead of sending money to Uganda Bureau of Statistics, why did we have to first send it to IGG, then it comes to you?
That's not our question, because...
Yes, it's not your question, but it's our question.
For us, what we do, we plan for the foreseen.
For us who scrutinize, it now comes...
We plan for those foreseen activities.
This money should have gone to you directly.
Yeah, but...
No, but Chair, just
yes,
a small clarification. Thank you, Director, for laboring and telling us that's not your... But you should have known. Because if money is coming to you and you don't know how it is coming, we can think that it's a bribe for you to do well.
Because the Bureau further received from your statement, the Bureau further received funds amounting 6 billion from MDS to undertake various surveys.
You should know exactly what those funds were for and why they were coming to you.
So under what arrangement is this done?
Were you being bribed?
Yes.
Were you being what?
That is the issue we are raising.
Chair, there is no bribing. Once that activity comes to the fore.
I mean, do MDS appropriate to you?
No, we sign a memorandum of understanding, and actually it's the MDAs that account for that money. Ours to account to the MDAs that the money you gave us was used like this.
So this is just a disclosure.
Yes, we are just disclosing what we did with funds from elsewhere.
Okay. But the accountability is
done by the Minister of Education or IGG.
So okay, now get.
Chair, I think it raises also a very fundamental issue, because these monies are appropriated in the respective MDA. And the question is, was this money specifically meant for this activity of survey? That's the question we will have to follow with the respective...
But if you are saying yes, it means this activity was foreseen.
Exactly.
And therefore, you should have budgeted for it, like you are doing for public service and other MDAs. But it is something we can consult for.
Chair, if the MDA discloses to us that next financial year they will conduct this activity, and they want us to undertake it.
Mm.
We know it ex ante, and we plan for it and ask for that money. And that's why we ask for money for National Service Delivery Survey from Minister, which is a core mandate of Minister of Public Service. Even today, we are in a part of the money we are asking here is to conduct the Uganda Demographic and Health Survey to give us indicators like mortality rates, infant mortality, or what have you. Because we know that activity is conducted every 5 years.
So can the Ministry of Health also plan for the same?
So Ministry of Health cannot plan for it. It is Uganda Bureau of Statistics. But it's because it is a regular occurrence. And
so we shouldn't have allowed IGG and all these other agencies.
We signed the MOUs. We signed the MOUs with them.
Activities of this nature in their budgets.
Okay. Chair, we can't also know that this could have been a double whatever. They could have given you money and then money also came from the other side.
The duplication we normally talk about.
It's not possible that we can receive money that we have already received from considered account.
Okay. Please proceed. Table 1.
Table 1 is the summary. For what I've been saying, Chair, per component, non-wage, our absorption was 93%, wage was 100%, development was 94%. And we give the reasons below why. Then the other external financing, again, you can see the component. We got money from USAID to conduct Feed the Future survey. We got money from UN Women to undertake several activities, including violence against women and girl child and family. We also got money from World Bank to conduct the census of business establishments and the panel household survey. And you can see the performance.
Okay.
Chair 2.1 are the outputs. And all these outputs can be found on our Ubos website, www.ubos.org. 2.2, before I go to 2.2, I want to bring to the notes of Parliament that we recently concluded 2019-20 Uganda Household Survey. It delayed somehow because of the lockdown, but field work ended in November, and we are now analyzing. And one of the key indicators we get from this report are the poverty rates for the country. So before the end of financial year, we shall be able to update the poverty status report of the country up to sub-county level.
So I should be able to know how the extent to which my people in Amugu are poor.
Or non-poor.
Or non-poor.
Yes. And this one will be interesting, Chair, because...
Does it capture the household income?
We use expenditure approach to impute the income because it's not easy for you people to declare to us the income. But once we go through the expenditure, consumption expenditure, it's one of the measure. But we are going also to have another indicator that is enriched, that is beyond income, the deprivation indicator, where we are going to have a multidimensional poverty index, where we are going to consider assets and other aspects of well-being to measure the welfare. So in this report, we shall also have a multidimensional poverty index beyond the consumption.
Other aspects of well-being, in this case, we are looking at what?
Assets, if you have assets that you have not, because this one of income looks at consumption expenditure. But if you have income if you have assets, if you...
Assets in the village, what comprises assets? Goats?
Yes,
What?
those are assets. Those are assets. So that one we shall be able to show the level of well-being beyond the income poverty or beyond the consumption poverty estimate.
Chair,
Lifestyle?
Chair, something
Yes,
interesting, some clarification. Chair, much as I agree with the MD that when you use the income approach, people may not easily disclose, but when you approach it through the expenditure. But Chair, I think research also has shown that in the countryside, especially area where I come from, I don't know what yours is, the level of consumption for alcohol is very, very high among our communities. And yet, I don't know whether I would call them drunkards. Somebody can just leave his home without even money and go to a drinking place, but he will drink quite a number of bottles. How would that, what kind of indicators would you now? Do you put that into consideration? Because that is consumption. Alcohol is consumed. Do you look at food, whatever?
Chair, I will endeavor to answer that. And then I will call upon James to shed more light, because this is an interesting discussion. In computing poverty, consumption poverty, we use expenditure on food items that the household spent within that household. If you go to a bar and somebody buys you, that one will be reported by a person who bought for you, not any other person. Then we also mark up for non-food expenditure like education expenditure, health expenditure, and what have you. James, if I have not answered exhaustively, you can help me here. You are an expert.
Thank you, Idi. Thank you, Honorable. Just in addition to food, the alcohol is non-food. That's excluded. Just as some non-consumption expenditures are also excluded out of the computation. So the non-food that is added onto food are those components which are as important as food to a person. It's paraffin, it's matchbox expenditure. Those are the expenditures we add onto the food. So expenses on alcohol, expenses on on taxes and so on. Those ones are excluded.
What about people who are in subsistence agriculture, who don't spend on food?
Now, under subsistence, we have three categories of expenditure. You consume either through the market, by purchasing from the market.
Purchasing what? I don't purchase anything. I have my beans, I have my Irish, I have my sweet potatoes.
Yes, as I said, it's one way in the urban areas we buy from the market. In the rural areas, they get food from own consumption. But there are also those in rural areas who get donations. So you can consume food or acquire food either through purchase or from the garden or through donation. Now, we have to combine all of this. And so what happens is that if you get food from your own garden, so we attach a value to that food you acquire from the garden. Because you have to combine it with a person from the urban areas who buys from the market. So we must ensure that we have the same market rate that prevails in their community and adjust it for a transport margin and so on to make sure that we get a value that corresponds to consumption. So that's the value attached to your household as having been consumed.
Okay. Yeah, just a small thing. The director, the AD said they take the expenditure on food items and then add a markup on non-food items. And among the non-food items, I would imagine in some of our areas, in Iteso, alcohol is a non-food item which is very, very well. And Karamoja, in fact, in Karamoja, it is part of food because a man can take kwete and then the children will take the what? The food. So he's also eating and the other fellows are eating. How are we eliminating this major component of what? Expenditure. I think that's why some of our areas are being treated as heavily hit by poverty, because you've removed the other major item of expenditure, which takes much of the income. It's an indicator
of poverty. People who are poor tend to drink more. They tend to have more time to spend at bars than some of us who are who are above the line. Anyway, friends, let's allow the Edith first make his presentation, then we will
thank you, Chair.
Have a very good discussion about this thing.
On 2.2, we present the budget execution challenges in the financial 2019-20, and the biggest one is the pandemic, which led to subsequent lockdown, and this greatly affected data collection. In particular, the Uganda National Household Survey, which I already informed you, the Annual Agricultural Survey, the Census of Business Establishments, Informal Cross-Border Trade Survey. This one is the one where we are based at the border to see these people crossing the border carrying things into and outside the country. We didn't conduct livestock census because of the lockdown and resources were returned. The National Service Delivery Survey preparations were also delayed because we had to consult with the stakeholders, especially public service, on the questionnaire design, and there was total lockdown. The baseline education census, the baseline education census that I talked about, the schools were closed, and the immigration data capture at the borders. And we also failed to deliver effectively the statistical capacity building in MDAs, local governments, and the CSOs. So there was limited consultations, coordination, and capacity development. That was the main. And that's the reason why you can see that on non-wage and development, we did not perform very well. On budget performance for quarter 1 and quarter 2, Mr. Chair, here I want to thank the committee for having appropriated to the Bureau 60.7 billion. Of this, 40.29 billion was recurrent budget and 20.41 for retooling. This is the code formerly named development budget. As of December 2020, the funds released to the Bureau amounted to 28.17 billion, with a total of 21.55 billion as recurrent and 6.63 billion being retooling component. The total expenditure, the total external funding for 2020-21 of the Bureau is estimated at Uganda shillings 13.47 billion. This is depending on what the donors and partners promised in their agreement with the government, with an absorption rate of 72% as at December 2020. That's for and the total is 69.9% when you include external financing. While the 73.9% performance of GAU funding, Mr. Chair, our performance was greatly affected negatively again by the persistence of COVID-19 pandemic that affected implementation of planned activities, the adherence to less than 30% personnel at workplace, and reduced fieldwork activities. Here we had to take a longer time to get permission from National Task Force to resume fieldwork activities. Similarly, the informal cross-border trade survey that we planned, international arrival and departure card capture at the border stations, and integrated panel agriculture survey are yet to resume due to the pandemic. We hope beginning next month, we have agreed with stakeholders that it is safe to conduct informal cross-border trade and a capture of immigration data, because this data is needed to understand the level of the service on the balance of payment and also tourism statistics. Then the integrated panel also, we are now in the final stages to integrate panel household survey with agricultural surveys, so that we are able to get the estimates for the household-based surveys, both on consumption, the issues of agriculture, you eat or what have you, with the poverty numbers. We also faced the delayed release of counter funding from the Ministry of Public Service to start the conduct of a national subsidy survey, because there was a counter fund that was required to come from public service. But now they have sent it. We couldn't start when we didn't have enough funds, because we do half-baked job, Mr. Chair. The other not impressive performance is because we still have procurements of ICT equipment that have not been completed, and therefore we cannot pay before. And Mr. Chair, I think we have a problem with the PPDA rules that take very long time to clear, and this hampers government in executing its activities. Chair, 3.1 again, these are the outputs we have produced in the last 2 quarters, and a number of them are deposited on our website. We have also the reports. And most important is that we have updated the population projections at national and subnational level for all districts, including new districts of Terego and the cities. And therefore, we have updated map of Uganda showing population by district, by cities in the country. 3.2, execution challenges again we met in the last 2 quarters. As I had already said, this livestock census was supposed to be conducted in May last year. Resources were taken back. We had thought the ministry would give us back this money to conduct this census, and we have up to now not got it. Chair, there was an increase in cost for the programs of the Bureau due to the need of implementing standard operating procedures and means of health guidance that were not in our initial plan. You remember, by the time we did this, we were not sure, we didn't know that the pandemic would be there. Another challenge, Mr. Chair, we have are the aging fleet. which are over 65%. Some of these vehicles were purchased in 2001 for 2000 census, and we are still using them. Maintaining them has been very costly, Mr. Chair. We have vehicles which have exceeded the 250,000 kilometers, but because of the moratorium to procure new vehicles, we are still running with our old parents. Another critical challenge is the respondents' apathy. And this was exacerbated during the coronavirus pandemic and election period, which resulted into very response rates for business centers. We had thought we would finish by now and do the inquiry, the enterprise survey, but we have low response rate. People, first of all, the businesses were closed. Getting to them to get information is a problem. And then the election period, which started quite very early, also hampered our execution of what we planned. And of course, we have a policy that before an activity, if you have a program and you have not yet conducted it, we don't extend more resources to you, because we can't give money on top of money for the field workers. So they keep it until when we can get the information. Chair, number 4 is budget estimates for 21-22 and the key interventions. The Bureau has computed its financial resource requirements in line with the statistical requirements for the NDP3 for financial year 2021-22, amounting to 265 billion.47, as summarized in the table below. The first column shows preliminary MTF budget that we have already got from finance. The second column are the budget estimates if we are to meet the NDP requirements. And the last column is the funding gap. Main deliverables for the budget of 2021-22 include, among others, the regular statistical products, namely quarterly and annual GDP, gross domestic product estimates, reports on weekly and monthly consumer price index, monthly producer price indices, monthly sector, construction sector indices, annual labor force reports, and so many others that we routinely produce. We also want to embark on geographical mapping in preparation for the 2022 National Population and Housing Census. We intend to develop, pre-test, and pilot the 2022 National Population and Housing Census instruments and representative enumeration areas, so that we can understand how the terrain is when the census night before us. We also plan to conduct 7th Uganda Demographic and Health Survey, the 2021. This one will be in the first half of next financial year, and also to complete the Uganda National Service Delivery Survey. This one is going to start next month, but it will go on until around October. Resources permitting, Mr. Chair, we also still have eyes on conducting national livestock census, because we don't know the estimates of animals in the country. That is one of the important benchmarks that we need to do in order to inform planning for that sector. We shall continue with the panel, with the integrated panel and agricultural survey. And we want to be serious on community statistics at parish level and then harmonization of local government administrative data. Mr. Chair, on this point, I think honorable members will agree with us that when you go to a district, you find that the information systems are scattered. The DHO has data on health. The DO has data on education. DPC has data on crime. People in agriculture production have theirs. But that data is not integrated at a district level. And is also not quality assured. You find a national plan, a planner at the district does not have this data. And for us to regard the planning unit at the district as a national planning authority of that district, they should be able to understand the data consistently and coherence because all of them are
budgeting officers.
The planning office, I don't know whether
yes.
Yes.
The
So
planning officers, the district, they no longer do the planning. They have become budgeting
because the
officers.
problem, Mr. Chair, the data that you find the DO hiding the data, the DHO hiding the data, and you know all these are now our responsibilities. Our mandate is to coordinate, monitor, supervise the national source system. So we want to have these harmonized. In addition, we need to have irregular community data at village level, parish level, and sub-county level. We have parish chiefs, sub-county chiefs, who are paid to do work. What we only need to do is to develop a template of picking the data. We capacity build them, quality assure them, and produce this data until it will be available on real time. And this one will even help you politicians to know how your constituencies are progressing with time. We recently received an indication from the Minister of Finance that the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Budget in January recommended additional funding for census of livestock at 2022 population housing census preparations amounting to 138.6 billion and 11.6 billion for the redeployment of Entebbe, totaling 150.23.
So you have now decided to take our
statistics.
Our recommendations elsewhere.
So we got this. We got this letter from the. In fact, I wanted to write there is an indication.
Much as we are also there.
I want to believe that you are part of this. I don't know.
But the committees are different.
I only got the letter from the ministry, Mr. Chairman.
Charles, what do you say? Both committees are ours, but you should know your home.
That's why we are saying this, sir, and we are saying that if you affirm this and the Bureau receive this money, now the underfunding will be reduced to only 41.
Hey, Honorable Kakoza, you are welcome. Is that Honorable Kakoza? Yes, welcome. You're most welcome.
Chair, I want to make it clear that we didn't appear before the budget committee. If you remember, you saw. But I think they read through what had been provisioned in the budget framework paper.
It's okay.
And the
it's okay. I was just
yeah.
It's okay.
We never went there.
What are you much?
So the funding gap of 41.07 billion is attributed to the funds to undertake or strengthen community level statistics and local government administrative data. The Uganda demographic and health survey amount to 7.1 billion. Panel survey, agricultural survey, and here we wrote ASS, but I want to put to record that the ETC includes Uganda Business Inquiry, which requires 3.4 billion. Aging and Disability Survey, which requires 1.3 billion. Governance peace and security statistics that require 0.7 billion, and tourism statistics that require 0.6 billion, which makes it 11.3. Well, I wanted to disembed the ETC so that the committee understands it.
Tourism statistics, is it funded?
It is not funded, Chair. This is the addition we would require. We have little money.
So where are the priorities? If you cannot fund tourism, make tourism statistics available.
Chair, for us, we have said this is unfunded priority. We take these as priorities.
Among other things, statistics on this, data on this, all these things we are talking about. And you fail to provide tourism data.
Chair, for us, we are...
When you know we are getting more money,
Chair,
that's where we are going.
That's why we are putting it here, that is a priority that we do not have resources for. And it would be important for the country to have this data.
So how are we marketing tourism elsewhere without data about it?
Chair, the role of our law is to bring to the fore that we take this as a priority, and the Parliament should finance this activity. But if we are not financed, then we shall always have it as an unfunded priority.
You see, this is Chair. Let him conclude. Okay. Have you concluded?
Chair, yes, I'm concluding. The last table is just declaring what we expect from external financing. The first column is showing you the development partners and donors, second, activities they are funding, and the third is the amount, totaling 13.4 billion. And our chair, is that the provision be made for the funding gap of 41.07, including the tourism statistics, and also conduct the demographic survey, develop the community level statistics and local government, and if possible, Chair, we replace some of these aging fleet because the maintenance cost is very high. In the conclusion, Chair, we want to appreciate the commitment of government and the Parliament of Uganda, in particular this committee, for supporting statistical production. I beg to submit.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Idi. I want to thank you for declaring external financing. Most of the MDAs, when they come here, they never want to disclose. And the Parliament is beginning to emphasize that MDAs must declare external financing to avoid double budgeting. Because we have had some cases where activities falling under external financing are being brought here for financing from GOE. So this disclosure enables us pick out what falls here, and it informs our analysis better. Tourism, I wish it would get space in the 60 billion. I wish it would move from the unfunded to the funded. Most of all these things we are talking about are equally good, but tourism is a new area where the economy is going and where the interest is shifting. It is important that we get this data readily available for the users. Like we are talking about infrastructure, development of tourism roads, extending electricity to tourism sites. The information, we would easily move these projects if we had data to base on them. but the data is not available. Now, Dr. Muchiza and your team, how I wish you would work within your means to provide this data. There is your financial your
MDAs to fund the activities. Here you tell us that you delayed to get money from, and you call it counterpart funding anyway, from Ministry of Public Service for
national economy
for conducting a national service delivery survey. This is something that you knew that there was supposed to be an activity called the National Service Delivery Survey. I should have seen you put it in the budget, and maybe public service would be defending you in their policy statement that we are going to conduct through Ubos a national service delivery survey, and the budget is in Ubos. And that's, but now you are here telling us that part of the money was in public service, which you should have got. And our experience, Chair, is that once this money is divided between some implementing ministries, there is a tendency of each one saying, go the other side, that's where the money is. When you go to statistics, statistics tells you that we have not received the money. When you go to public service, they tell you that it's not our work. So you should have thought this early and put that aspect in the budget, in your budget, and maybe just fail to get money from, your budget. Finally, there is something interesting that I've always wanted you to follow. Chair, in our local communities, there are hospitals, there are health centers. In those health centers, Chair, if you get to them, you find registers. When you're treated, when you go to hospital, they give you a number. When you go to health center, they give you a number. They enter your name. These days you must carry an ID. They enter your name. They also enter the disease that has been found out that you're suffering from. That is part of the statistics. And the aim is for us to determine which diseases are prevalent. There is statistics available in these health centers, in these hospitals. I don't know whether the districts summarize that statistics, forward it to you for compilation for the use of Ministry of Health, and maybe for the delivery, to facilitate the delivery of drugs, the push versus pull policies of delivering drugs to the area. That's why you find in our areas now, people will complain, Chair, that the drugs are brought, but this is for still drugs. Maybe they bring fewer drugs because we don't have the statistics of the prevalent diseases. The policy of government is to buy essential drugs. And essential drugs is to treat essential diseases that have become common. There are diseases that are now graduating to become common, which previously were not. So in the hospital, we are still thinking of malaria, but maybe now even typhoid has become essential if we analyze those statistics. So I don't know how you can help us get bacterial infection, actually, that's a new thing. So if you could help us work with those people, even if it needs a budget share, I think this is an area that should have been funded, so that really we have statistics that we base for what? For taking drugs to the community. I thank you very much.
Okay. Honorable Carol Frank.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to get a small clarification from the MD. In his explanation, he stated clearly that the COVID pandemic greatly affected their activities. But when you look at the output and the performance of the budget, everything was okay. Because when you perform at 97% and above, and in other areas you perform up to 100%, it doesn't really indicate that something affected your activities or performance. So these two are not related. I wanted some more explanation on that. And lastly, Chair, I was wondering, just trying to ask myself, most government entities were asked to return money which were not utilized during the COVID-19 pandemic. But I was surprised to see that this component, which was given to the Bureau for Education Survey, this BEC activity, the money was left, much of it was not used, and yet it's still lying on their account. What could be the explanation for that as well? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Asiku. Asiku then Stella.
Thank you. Two things. One, on page 3, just on top, I think you have clearly said that you failed to undertake statistical capacity building, especially in the statistical systems of MDAs and local government. You realize how important this information is for the purpose of planning, decision-making, controlling, all rests on that. The other day we would put one of the MDAs to task because they failed to articulate statistics for purpose of planning. And now I realize actually it is your failure. Okay? And to me, one of the reasons why this country is moving at a very slow speed of development is because we are not using statistics that we have for purpose of effective planning. And that now leads me to try to find out what relationship do you have with the MDAs? Because I know we have just gone through where some MDAs fund you to do an activity on their behalf. So, do you, for example, in the process of trying to undertake what activities you wish to do, interest MDAs to try to find out whether there are there's information any surveys they wish you to do for them and what have you, so that I want to see a central planning activity for this country undertaken by you. In fact, for all the MDAs, and that means there's need for effective collaboration with all the MDAs to try to understand what their statistical needs are, and therefore what surveys needs to be undertaken. To me, that's critical.
Okay. Yes, Honorable Jen.
Thank you, Chair, and I want to thank Ubos for their report. Chair, adding on to what Honorable Siko has just stated, Chair, I have also realized that it is reported here that a number of surveys were not planned surveys, have not taken place due to the pandemic. But Chair, this is a very critical organization that this country depends on for data, timely data, for us to plan well. And there are some critical surveys that should have taken place. A good number of Ugandans are now in the employment in the sector of agriculture. Within, and even probably some investors would want to come and invest in the area of agriculture. Chair, I want to implore the management of Ubos to think quickly on how they can carry out some of these surveys, unless they are so much limited by certain resources. Otherwise, we need this, we need timely data. Investors are suffering because they don't have where to refer to in order to plan and make decisions. I'll give you a scenario. I have visited a number of lower health units. And because the population out there are crying whenever they receive drugs, within days, the drugs are not there. So I took time to go to a number of these, to meet the health workers. And they would tell, the responses I was getting is that whereas a health center, say 2 or 3, is supposed to diagnose and treat about a population of about 5,000, they treat up to 16,000. So probably the country is not giving enough drugs to these facilities because you're not providing the country with timely data. So really, there is need for you people to carry out these planned surveys. Otherwise, we are moving in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chair, I didn't finish. There was one.
It's okay, Honorable.
To what extent have you implemented a program plan budgeting system? Because some of the issues that seems to be raised here point to the fact that this has not been effectively adopted.
Then, yes, Tara.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Stella Kiza. I represent the people of Chegegu. I was not here when we were introducing ourselves. I wanted to make more emphasis on what our chairperson wished on the tourism data. I would feel that you consider that one, whether you do half or part of it, but you work around your budget allocations and you get some money and you do that tourism survey. We need it. And 2, because you will answer us whether it is possible or not, because we are discussing. 2, I wanted to know which activities you spend on development expenditure here. Because on the performance outputs I'm seeing here, all your work is not capital development. Actually, that's why you are making it a retooling. I wanted to know how you apply this development expenditure. Because on your report summaries here, you are not showing us what you spend on recurrent expenditure, what you spend on development, and what you spend on the donor funding. If it was possible, you would categorize your outputs according to the budget items allocated to you. We would know actually that the donor funding, you used its money to do what they wanted to be done. For the government of Uganda, this is what you did for your non-wage and your retooling. That's what I wanted to point out, sir.
Honorable Kakoza.
Something small. I'm sorry, Chair, I delayed a bit in another meeting. You know, politicians are always delayed. Not late. I see why on page 3, why the 73.9% performance of government of Uganda funding. I've been trying to get the persistence of the COVID, but the next bulletin, I mean the next, that the adherence of the less than 30% personnel at workplace and reduced field work activities. It's one of the reasons maybe they were giving. Then all the data they were collecting, how did they do it? What I'm trying to say, if you were affected by 30%, the data you collected, were you using PowerPoint reports? Because they didn't go to the field, how did you correct? For instance, the poverty levels we have now, if we've corrected the data, how did you correct it? if you were affected by 30%.
In addition, Honorable Saida.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. First of all, I want to apologize for coming late. I was also chairing another committee meeting. Chair, I've always had a problem with the statistics for from the rural areas. We believe that this is where the biggest population of our people stay. And the biggest economic activity also takes place in the rural areas. But the statistics which comes out regarding agriculture and unemployment, I don't know whether as a layperson, I'm the one who doesn't understand them, but it looks like they don't put in enough to capture the information. And because of that, there is a lack of proper planning. Because when you talk of unemployment, really, I don't know, when I look at the numbers for unemployment, I just get scared because they seem to be far from the truth. So I really want to understand the tools they use and how far deep they go, especially in the rural areas, but also on the unemployment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Mchiza, have you got the issue properly?
Chair, I think I have got the issues,
Okay.
and where I didn't, that's why I came with the...
Do we? No, you can now respond.
I came with the...
You can start with the last one. I also have interest in
unemployment.
Unemployment and the extent to which you go deep into the villages, the rural. Your concentration seems to be concentrated in urban areas.
Chair, this question is related to a number of questions that are linked to rural statistics.
Yes.
I want first admit that we are thinly or not well structured countrywide as a bureau. We operate a centralized system. And that's why we have now come boldly to tell Parliament and our parent ministry that we need now to strategize ourselves in a way that we can effectively coordinate the community level statistics. I think we discussed this with our committee last year, that we need to be seen to be everywhere. But of course, budget is not enough. So what we are proposing to do beginning next financial year is to have at least zonal offices in 16 statistical regions who will be coordinating with statisticians and planners at the district level to get this administrative data done. That notwithstanding, the data on unemployment rate is normally captured through labor force survey, which is done every after. In the Uganda National Household Survey, you have a module that captures labor force activities.
In the towns or in
and the surveys are national representative.
Where do you get
we go to every district and select the number of enumeration areas randomly, which we think are national representative scientifically. Okay. But that one is only on a survey basis. Now we can get more information by harnessing the administrative data that exists in the local communities, the local administrative areas, if we developed strong community information system. So the employment rate you see are the true picture of what is happening in the country during the survey period. But in the intervening periods, we ought to do better by making use of the administrative data. I want to emphasize that the surveys are national representative. We go in every district, and in each district, we select sub-counties that are representative, and within the sub-county, we select an enumeration area. And in the Uganda National Survey that we are about to finish analyzing, we shall come up with employment rates.
So why are the figures, no, why are the statistics not satisfactory to a layman like me, like Honorable Saida and others? Why do they leave a gap? Because when you look at the statistics,
I
and
know,
also look at exactly what is happening.
I know where you are coming from.
Yes, that's the question.
I know where you are coming from. There are two issues here, and which we need to, which you have been discussing, the statistical fraternity, vis-a-vis the international standard. When you look at the international measure of who is unemployed, it's actually very astonishing. The ILO describes a person who is deemed to be unemployed to be only that person that is not working but searching for employment. So if you are at home eating your mother's food and are not looking for the job, you are not regarded as unemployed. Secondly, the number of hours worked per week. I can see Honorable Stella shaking. But if you are not looking for a job, searching for a job, the statistical definition and the agreement from International Labour Organization is that you are not unemployed. First, you must be looking for the job. You must be in the working age group. And you should not have worked for a given number of hours per week. How many are they in Merida? Or James? How many hours per week are you supposed not to have worked to be taken to be unemployed? Mike?
Thank you. You shouldn't have worked for at least 3 hours a week.
Chair, you see that definition is very ridiculous. And you have to produce statistics that is comparable worldwide. But we want to have our local definition of who is deemed not to be working. And these are the consultations we are making. So that we can, okay, produce.
But Chair, I wanted just to give whatever to Doctor, that yes, there is compliance with international standards or whatever, but there is also producing statistics or data to help us plan for our information. We are not going to override our core objective of giving a service to the people to only meet the international standards. That's why we're sticking that how thin or how heavy are you down in the community, so that we have the data that will enable us deliver services to these people.
And
Chair,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I think it is quite worrying for the director to say that they're struggling hard to meet international standards. Uganda is unique. There are so many peculiarities in Uganda. If you look at our economy, the biggest part is informal. So if you want international standards with UK, where everything is formalized, the numbers you get will certainly be, will not certainly apply to Uganda. And when you look at unemployment in Uganda, and you say because somebody is comfortably sleeping in the mother's house and is eating and is what, and is not considered unemployed, I think that leaves a lot to be desired, because we educate our children to get jobs. And it's only when they fail to get jobs that they come and continue to be dependent on us. So I think you need to go a little bit deeper, and also to consider the peculiarities of this country when designing your modules?
Yeah, Chair, something small which we've been struggling with in the committee here with other agencies. I thought your information is quite important, even in formulating the policy of a country, depending on the statistics you have corrected. Like we are vis-a-vis, we are failing to have a policy on tax because the statistical data they don't have, and they would have picked it from you, the information you've corrected, the enterprises, the SMEs we have, the poverty levels, and all those policies that can be formulated from your data. And if it's not corrected, the policy becomes very difficult that it cannot fit in within the environment of the country we are in. I think it's quite important that the peculiarities of Uganda as we are, the data you have, it can be corrected, and then it forms the basis of forming some policies through your statistics.
Chair, we agree. That's why we said we are grappling on finding our local solution in developing the parameters how we can define our unemployment. And we are almost agreeing that we should have that standard developed for our own. Secondly, that you are working in informal sector doesn't mean you are unemployed. That you are working in your agricultural householding doesn't mean you are unemployed. We are looking at those who are not actively working, employed. There is a difference between employment for earnings or employment when you are doing that subsistence and what have you. So the majority of our population, around 80% is an agricultural activity. And they are all in the gardens cultivating, tilling, harvesting. So those are not regarded as being unemployed. The only issue are those who are not in that activity, they are not in informal sector, but they are just not working. So that one should be understood. So if you are working in your parents' plantation, we cannot statistically measure you as being unemployed. You are working, you are employed, but you are not employed for earning. So those are the things we need to categorize in our reports and bring to the fore. On the reason for under-release, Chair, you are aware that Q4, there was only a release of wage. The other amount was not released for all government agencies. So that's the main one. Two, all the monies for workshops, seminars, after COVID, were not released to government. Yet they had been approved. So that's the main reason. And it was not only for the Bureau, but it was across the board. Composition of the board, this is what the law says. The 1998 Statistics Act, that the Bureau shall be composed of the chairperson, the ED, representative from the ministry responsible for statistics, representative from Institute of Statistics and Applied Economics.
No, that's what the law says.
Yes,
Next.
so that's the law. That's the law, and unless stakeholders find it offending, because we are in the process of amending the law, we could bring those views in the amendment. The budget output, what do these figures mean? Residential property price index, producer price index, consumer price index. Chair, this was very summarized report But I want to promise that Imelda from here, who is in charge of technical services, I will to you these reports which Claire talks about. But if I may remember, the recent report on residential property price index suggests that the prices of residential properties have been plummeting since COVID. Especially, and this one we are doing it in the greater metropolitan Kampala. We want to extend to other regions. You know, we have to start small. This is a new indicator. When we get to the grip, we now extend countrywide. After all, much of the real estate is within the cities here. Once we have the indicator here, it can mimic the whole country. Nakawa division was seen to be highly negatively affected in prices. Then Rubaga, Kawempe follows. Kampala, Central and Makindi's prices are a little bit not well affected. Then PPI, Producer Price Index, is that manufacturers have been also receiving lower prices over time for the last 1 year, which has in fact led to the reduced inflation rates in the country also. The last report showed that the inflation reduced from 3.1% headline to 3%. And all of these other prices transmit into the consumer price index. But we shall be providing you with the detail of the report. On the fact that we should have done more during COVID, we appreciate it. We want also again to report to Parliament that in April, we partnered with World Bank to do a COVID survey on households. We have produced 4 reports. The first one was looking at the understanding, the population understanding that the COVID situation, the SOPs, how you can prevent them. And I think we released the report, which I had an opportunity to share with the chairperson. That time she invited the chairperson of national economy on the effect of COVID on households and businesses. So we have a report, Imelda will be sharing with you. I don't want to bore you with you, but we have it on also website. We have already disseminated 4 reports regarding the effect of COVID on households. We have also disseminated 2 reports on the effect of COVID on businesses. And one important finding was that businesses, people who were employed in businesses lost jobs. About 60% became jobless as effect of COVID. We have those reports. And also the gross output of businesses during COVID contracted significantly. And later we see those numbers in the quarterly gross domestic product. So we did something, and these reports, we used the telephone interviewing because we are not allowed to move. Of course, our respondents were used to seeing, putting face to the person collecting. It was not easy this time. You could say, these are conmen, so it also became very difficult for us. The culture is that they want to see somebody identify yourself with Ubos. Yes, but now you are calling, you are saying this, you want to tell me about how life is, like that. But the most important thing was that at the beginning, in the survey, 80% of households knew that there was COVID and how to prevent it. However, there were some who thought by taking alcohol, they would be prevented from contracting COVID. Yes, that was the initial report. So we also continuously have
information.
Thank you, Chair. Just 2 weeks ago in my district, 2 people died. One died instantly on drinking the sanitizer, thinking it had more, since it has more alcohol content, it would be a better prevention. Yeah, for COVID. They both died. One died on spot, the other one died on his way to the hospital, just 2 weeks ago. So he's right.
So, Chair, in that report, which we widely disseminated on the e-conference, we want the Ugandans not to think by taking alcohol they will get immunized against COVID. But of course there is saying, and you take a cow to the well but don't force it to take water. On the National Service Delivery Survey, I don't remember what happened, but I think when we budgeted that time, the resources allocated in the discussion were not enough. And public service said we shall give about, is it 1 billion? James, again, you are my encyclopedia. About 1 billion, so that we can do, but they took long to bring it. We even took long to sign the MOU. But now we can confirm they have brought the money and we are going to do that. But this one we had anticipated that we would conduct this. Now, 5 is related to Honorable Bumba's question. The record is at hospital level, clinics, and what have you. You are very right. And we need to harness this data. That's why we are praying that you support the Bureau in strengthening these parish chiefs because they are paid. All we need is to coordinate, give them tools, and they get this information. And we are planning that we give them equipment. After the census, we shall leave them with these tablets so that this data can be collected real time. We just give them template, and it will be sent sub-county to the district. Then our zonal offices would conduct water assurance, and we have the harmonized database, both from health, from education, or what have you. We agree we have not done much.
But Chair, just a second. This data, for example, we're talking about is in health centers. And the health centers have the in-charges and records, assistants who do the recording. At a certain time, Chair, they had proposed to recruit medical something, biostatisticians. I don't know whether they implemented that. Whose role, I think, would be to analyze this data, and then you could link up with you. Can we use that? Because we don't even need the parish chiefs and whatever. It's already there. It is just to move from a health center to either statisticians in the district, and you tap it and be able to compile, and we use it.
Yeah, for that one, the biostatistician, if every district had, it would work. But that would be for only one discipline of medical record. There are so many other records that need to be harmonized at the district level, like the borehole, the type of laws. Like the other day, I visited where Madam Honorable Bumba comes from Ruero town to the other end of Vuremezi. You take 5 hours, which is almost equivalent from moving from here to your constituency, Mr. Chairman. And the local administration would be having that data, the quality of the road to those areas, because that's important service delivery mechanism. So this is what we want to be on top of it and coordinate. And we are in discussion with the Ministry of Local Government. The PS is in support. What now remains is being tooled to do that work. The question from Honorable Wakero was, I think, similar. The C-19 affected activities, Q4, we only received salaries. And even for other quarters, it was not as at the optimal level.
So what is the situation now? Are you receiving the
I think this time, yes.
the money in full?
This time we are receiving all the budgeted money. What we are not warranting, committing warrants on are the workshops and travel abroad only.
Inland workshops?
No. Yeah, even inland workshops. Once it is a workshop, they are all...
Workshops and travel abroad.
Those ones we don't get the money.
So you can't take my members, Serena?
Unless you call it something else, Sandy.
Sorry?
Unless you call it something else which may not be possible.
Okay.
We wait for the embargo to the moratorium.
Okay.
Chair, on tourism, okay, on effective coordination of local governments and MDAs, Chair, I want to report that we have a statistical planning framework, which is planned for national scale development. And in that one, we have 18 MDAs who have developed the strategic plan for statistics, where they say what they are going to do. We have also a number of local governments, I don't know how many. That was for last year. Now we are extending to very many. In the districts, once they have the strategic plan for statistics, we hold on to them that this is a standard we agreed on to include statistics in your daily activities. And our zonal offices, we have divided the country into 15 statistical zones. Like Gezi will be a statistical zone, Teso statistical zone, like that, 15. They will be coordinating with the national planners, with the district planners, and where there are statisticians to make sure that we do well. Then in the MDAs, we have statisticians that we deploy there to help them in building their databases. Those who are signed to the PNSD and have the strategic plans. We take note of the proposal to ensure that we conduct tourism survey within this budget, although that will be at the expense of other indicators I've been regularly producing that the country waits for every day. I want to inform this honorable House that every week we must produce a weekly consumer price index that Bank of Uganda uses to monitor the price stability, and every month, and this is a huge cost. We will also have to do the index of production and others. So we have a choice whether to sacrifice this and do this, or we get the additional resources, the little money we want, and conduct the tourism statistics. On what was spent on government expenditure, recurrent expenditure, I think I will ask the finance manager to explain. But what is mainly put on development expenditure, which is now tooling, are things which are a one-off. For example, if we are doing a census of business establishment, which will not be done again next year, and it requires huge investment, that's where the money is put. And also the equipment like the computer-assisted personal interviewing devices, the tablets, the other IT equipment, that's where we put the development. We can provide you the detailed expenditure per those items. But mainly it is these big programs that are not conducted every other year. They are not recurrent. Chair, I did not understand clearly the question of my former colleague, Honorable Kakoza. 30% reduction on data collection. We've already said that we tried to use non-conventional methods, telephone, to fill the gap, but also we would get fewer people to come and analyze the data. We are trying to see whether we can work remotely. So we used new innovations to make sure that we keep working. And that's how we decided, we managed to get to what we have. But we sacrificed many other things like informal cross-border trade, immigration data, and others. Because that one required our continuous presence to the border stations. I think I have endeavored to answer the question, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eddy and the team. Indeed, you have delivered to respond to the questions. And where you feel you have not satisfied us, and where we are not satisfied, we shall require you to give us further details in writing. And on this note, I would like to adjourn this meeting to tomorrow, 10 o'clock.